Hey Saints, I just wanted to cover something here. Stephen Ben-Noon, or Ben-Noon, I think he's going by now, just posted this video here. Vatican recognizes Palestinian state, rejecting the biblical warning. And, come see this video, or at least come over and see. He's reporting basically on this article here in Arutz Shiva. Vatican preparing to recognize PA as Palestine. And basically it's just what it says. The Vatican has decided to recognize um, the Palestinians as their own, state, right? What they've been pushing for at the UN, the Vatican now has, recognized as a state. And this is I don't know, just it's follow on to the progression that we've seen around this. But this article says, well, this is the first formal document that's going to list the Palestinian state. And the UN didn't recognize it as a state. I think they got non-member status or whatever last year, but they weren't a state. And now this is the Vatican saying, yes, they are a state. So this includes recognition of 1967 borders and thus Palestinian East Jerusalem. And so part of that then, if that goes through like that, is not only is Israel being divided, but the Jerusalem itself being divided. And as Stephen Ben-Noon points out, this is against God's word, which it's really, sort of the final unveiling, if you want to say. Not that there wasn't plenty of other things to look at, but it's the final unveiling of the role of the Vatican in this end times scenario. And you point to this passage here, Joel 3, for behold, in those days and at that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down in the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and have parted my land. So, that couldn't be more clear. Here's the Vatican leading the way, if you want to say, in parting God's land. And that's, really the central reason here at the end for the judgment against all the nations. And so that's pretty serious coming from the Vatican. Way back when, now you guys may remember this, I did a video on, this is the first document we're looking at here. It's, the Evangelii Gaudium. This came out right after Pope Francis was, promoted to Pope, or whatever you want to say here, 2013, 11, 24. So November of 2013. So he'd been Pope for what? A handful of months here, I think it would have been at that point. And so you can see here, the point of this video I did, again, over a year ago probably, was if you read this, and I was looking for what's this guy about, and it struck me that he had these really strange references to leaven. And it was, here's one of them: the gospel is leaven, which causes the dough to rise in the city on the hill whose light illuminates all people. Literally throughout this document, the gospel message and God's people are referenced as leaven. And anybody with an ounce of biblical knowledge knows that leaven is a symbol for sin and false doctrine throughout the Bible. And so this got to be very intentional. Here you've got, sort of this Evangelium Gaudium was supposed to be the document that framed Pope Francis's popery, or whatever you call it, is his term. And isn't it interesting that 6 times leaven is referenced in here? And I can't remember. I think all 6 of these are kind of like this, where leaven is used in just the reverse fashion of the way the Bible states it. And for me, this was a big tip off after he became Pope, that you just can't make a mistake like this in biblical interpretation without it being intentional. And how could it escape the Vatican as a publication to all? I think it says that on the cover. I'm just going to scroll up. Apostolic exhortation of the Holy Father Francis to the bishops, the clergy, consecrated persons, and the lay faithful on the proclamation of the gospel in today's world. So you can see how broad, this was intended. Obviously, this had been reviewed by multiple theologians at the Vatican, and yet it got through that way. And so you just know that that's got to be intentional. And other, I'm just pointing to this one. I had a video on when the Pope said that we couldn't judge gay people. Well, it's not that you're judging them, but I mean, the sin of homosexual interaction, right? He went soft on that, and now he's picking up the Mother Earth thing at the UN and trying to go for the, we got to embrace, one world government and save the earth. So you can see how he's just leading the charge now. I mean, I guess I didn't expect this coming from the Pope. I guess, publicly, if you look at behind the scenes, all world leaders come to the Pope, and it's supposed to be greetings or congratulations when Pope Francis got the position or whatever, but and all the prior popes the same way. All the world leaders go for counsel and visitation with the Pope, and it just shows who's really running the show. So the fact that the Vatican is pushing this Palestinian statehood means that the UN is going to have to fall in line at some point here. And Saints, I think this just really, I mean, I know I've had a bunch of videos saying this, but this just really points to where we are on the timeline. I mean, I just can't imagine how much more could possibly unfold here before the church leaves or before the judgments fall. So lift your head up, saints. Our redemption draws near. And, try and give the salvation message to any of the friends and family. Obviously, this time has got to be short. God bless.